My name is Amanda Boyle. I'm the community manager for Tableau. I support dev office hours along with a number of other programs, and I love my job. We're excited to have you here. I'm excited to work with these guys. So welcome to dev office hours. Oh yeah, go Greg.
My name is Greg Bennett. I'm in product marketing here at Tableau, and I am working with these fine fellows on Tableau Prep Conductor.
My name is Youssef. I'm a PM on the Prep Conductor team. Thank you for joining on this beautiful rainy day in Seattle here. For those of you who are avid followers of these events, you might not recognize me. I am fairly new to this team, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm Gyldenege. I'm a product manager here at Tableau, working on Tableau Prep. I work on Tableau Desktop, or Tableau Prep Desktop, and now excited to work and get some feedback from all of you and questions about Prep Conductors. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so I want to kick this off with just going very quickly over the Prep Conductor capabilities, showing you what it is and what it does, for those of you who haven't had a chance to see that before. But really, I want to spend most of this time to answer your questions. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to walk through the Prep Conductor scenarios, and then we'll open it for questions and answers. So, and also as I go, feel free to post your questions to the chat, and we'll answer those after I'm done. So everybody can see my screen? Okay, I'll assume that's a yes.
Yes, Pat McCormick says yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing it updated here though.
I think they're just saying, you're just seeing the main slide. Are you guys?
Now I have Tableau Prep open, so stop and read. Okay, let me do that.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Yep, we're just pivoting over to actually having Prep Conductor open.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So hopefully you're familiar with this. I have Prep Conductor here. I have a flow that some of you might have seen before called Superstore, a flow that we really love. It combines data, sales data from multiple locations, multiple sources. It does some aggregations and some joins, and then it creates some outputs that I configured to be published to my server. Once I created this flow and have these outputs ready, I'd like to build reports on top of those, and I'd like to have this flow run every day so that reports are always up to date. Today, you can come here, run this flow in Tableau Prep, and publish the data sources to the server. With Prep Conductor, now we are able to publish this flow directly to server, and in Tableau Server, you can schedule it to run on daily basis or on recurring basis, like you do with exact refreshes, and your data sources will be updated every time it runs, and your reports will be always up to date. So if you're familiar with this menu, there is a sign-in option here. I'm already signed in to my server, but there's a new option that says Publish Flow that allows me to publish this flow to my Tableau server. So I click on that. It asks me what project I want to publish this to, so I'm just going to pick the default project, and it's saying I have a flow with the same name because I've done this before. So I'm going to say, let's call it something different, and let's put a meaningful description. You'll notice there is a section here that says files. So this particular flow uses 6 input files as the data source. So if I click on this edit option, I'll see that I can either upload these files. So I have the list of the files here. I can either upload them or I can use direct connection. Uploading the files will create, Tableau Prep will create a copy of these files and will push them to the server along with the flow. And it will be static. So it will be just a snapshot of these files right now when I publish. Every time the flow runs, we'll use these embedded files. Direct connection, on the other hand, will reference the files that are placed in a shared network folder. And every time the flow runs on server, it will use the files that are in that share, and it will always use the latest updated files. One caveat to this, though, is this will only work if the location, the network location where these files are located, is marked by the server administrator as a safe list folder path. So this is a part of the Prep Conductor capabilities we added for security reasons, where the server administrator has to configure the server to mark a set of network shares as safe locations, and only those are the places where you can use to host your input files, and also to output files too, if you have an output file. So in this case, I'm just going to pick upload, and I click publish. So right now, Tableau Prep is pushing this flow to server, and it opened a browser tab showing me the overview of this flow on the server. I can see right off the bat a few things. I can see a snapshot of my flow right here. I can see a list of output steps. So in this particular flow, I create 2 data sources. And I have a bunch of options. I can download the flow back, I can run it, or I can schedule it. So let's just click on run and see what happens. So I click on run now. You can see that the status now is updated that it's pending run. So now it's added to the queue, and the server will execute that flow and create the outputs. So while it's doing that, let's explore a little bit. There is the connections tab that shows you all the connections that this flow is using, either input or output connections. So you can see the first 6 rows here are my input files that are embedded in the flow. You can see that there is an edit connection option here that's not available, but if it's, let's say, a database, you can use that option to edit and set your credentials on that database. And you have here the output steps that says it creates these 2 data sources. I have a schedule task tab where I can create multiple tasks to run this flow on at a given schedule. So let's try that. Here are all the schedules that are available on server that you are already using for scheduled refresh. It's the same set of schedules. We take advantage of the same infrastructure. So for this, in this case, I will say let's run it every night at 11 p.m. And I will pick, you can either pick a specific output step that you are interested in to run in this according to that schedule, or you can just pick all of them. So in this case, I will include all of the output tasks, and I will create the task. So you'll see now a task is created, and every night at 11 p.m., these 2 output steps will run, and the data sources will be updated. There's a run history tab, and you can see that already the run that I just kicked off had already ran and succeeded. It tells me the duration of this run, the date and time it started and it ended, and the status of it. If there was an error, I'll see an error here with a message that tells me what went wrong. Couple of last things I want to show before we open it for questions. This is the server browsing experience. You might notice it's a little bit different than what you probably are familiar with today, because the server team has been working on improving the user experience. But here you can see that there is a new artifact type in server, in addition to all the ones you're familiar with, that says that's called flow, and it's integrated in the server experience if you have Prep Conductor enabled on that server. So if I pick that, I can see all my flows. I can use the filtering capabilities or the search to find the flow I'm interested in. The last thing is I want to show very quickly the permissions. So you can, as the owner of a flow, you can set permissions on each of the flow per user or a group like you do with other server artifacts. We give you a degree of granularity where you can decide to give people the permissions to view, run the flow, save it, download it, move it to somewhere else, delete it, or even set permissions on it as well. So you have this degree of control to determine what kind of permissions you want to set on your flows. So with that, by the way, everything I've seen is available today in beta. And a shameless plug here, we really need your feedback. So I will have a slide. Let's actually switch to the slides. If you haven't already, go to this website, tableau.com/getbeta. Sign up for it and download it and try it. Would love to hear your feedback. Feel free to reach out with any questions, with any feedback, with any concerns, and we'll address those. But we really we would like to hear from you. With that, I will open for questions.
Well, you can also share that beta 2 came out yesterday. So just as this, like, as much as you want to get into the conversation, like new betas are coming out at a regular cadence. So the more engaged responses and participation we can have from the community, the better the product is going to turn out. Like, it's so important that you test the betas, that you connect with our developers. That's one of the purposes of these conversations, is to really hear what our customers need. So please don't hesitate to reach out. But we have a couple questions in the chat we're going to facilitate, and then please continue to ask questions. We've got an open mic essentially right now, so let us know. The first question came during the presentation. I think it's more specific to prep. It was, can prep be used to join tables that have millions of records? I haven't had much success.
I can see that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so you can definitely join tables that have millions of records. For example, one of the core use cases we tested here in Tableau was joining about 19 million records to another table that wasn't in the same database. So if you're running into trouble though, I would encourage you send us an email after this. We'd love to get in contact with you and see what we can do to help. See if maybe there's something special with your scenario, but that's something that should work in Tableau Prep.
And as you can see, Youssef generously shared his email on the screen. So we gave him a hard time about it, but he sincerely wants you to reach out. So please do. The next question is from Chris. It says, so run now doesn't necessarily run now. It should be labeled add to queue or something more accurate. Does that make sense?
That's fair. It gets added. It depends on how busy your server is at this particular moment. So if there's another job that's running, and you don't have enough resources to run another job, it will just wait till that job that's running is finished, and it will kick off that job. So it is. I think that's a fair feedback. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, good.
Cool, Mike. Mike Perillo. We knew we were going to get some of these, so thank you. How is Conductor licensed? Will it be available to install on core licensing? Will additional granular security be available to allow or restrict publishing workflows to server?
I'll take the licensing question. So we're in the process of prepping for launch. So we're working through all the different kind of issues and kind of creating the whole framework for how we'll price the product and how we'll package the product. So we're not going to announce that right now, but when we get closer to launch, we'll bring everybody into the fold to announce all of our pricing.
I can handle the security question. So in terms of security, what's great about us being Prep Conductor being part of Server is a lot of the same security that's available in Tableau Server is also available in Prep. So for example, you can secure flows the same way you would workbooks or data sources. You can secure them using projects like you do today. In terms of publishing, you can also turn Prep Conductor on or off on a site-by-site basis. So if you have one site that you want to be able to use Prep Conductor and another that you don't, as an administrator, you have the ability to turn that on and off. In terms of who can use and publish prep flows, any Tableau creator, someone who has a desktop or has the ability to publish, can then publish those flows up to Tableau Server as long as it's enabled on Tableau Server.
Okay, next question. Beta 2 came out yesterday. I think I have Beta 1, and it says it expires in 5 days. Can you speak to the duration of how long they are open? The different tiers of betas?
So I think you're probably talking about the companion build, the desktop, the Tableau Prep on the desktop. I think that Tableau standard procedure is Beta 1 and Beta 2 comes out with a number of days, I think 60 to 90 days of after which it will expire. So I would just suggest downloading Beta 2 instead, and it should last till after we release our production version.
Not to give a specific timeline on when production version will come out. We can't say that, but potentially. From Mike, he asked, will Tableau Prep Conductor support ability to lock flows to existing security groups during the publish process as exposed to setting permissions after, or as opposed to setting permissions after?
That's a great question. So when you publish a flow, it will go ahead and use the default settings available for that project or whatever you set for them. So when you publish, you don't manually configure it there. It assumes that you want to use the same project settings or keep the ones that you've got. After you publish it, you can then further refine how you want those to work on server.
And for you guys, if you want me to pivot the camera to any of you to demo anything, just let me know and I can do that too. Okay. So just because I made it so we're big, so they're not looking at a little picture of us.
Yeah, I saw the sharing as well.
Okay, cool. So next question from Pat McCormick. Where were the extracts placed on server?
That's a good question. When you build your flow, you get to specify in each output step where do you want this output step to go. So you just pick a project in your server, and the extract will be published to that. So when it runs in server, it will also be published to that same location. The same way if you run it on the Prep desktop.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So one of the other big differences between using Tableau Desktop and using Prep, especially with large data sources, is in Tableau Desktop, it has to build the entire extract on desktop first, then you can publish it, and then you can schedule it. Where Prep, we've changed that. So if you have, and that means if you're downloading 500 million rows, you have to wait for that to finish on your desktop. With Prep, we've changed that. With Prep, what you can do is you can just publish the flow, tell it where you want the output to go, and run it. So you don't have to wait for things to finish on your desktop. You can let the server do that work for you too. So you can say where it should run and let it all just run remotely on the server.
Okay, awesome. Next question from Mike. I appreciate that you guys are asking lots of questions. Please keep them coming. We can see the queue below. So is there a setting for priorities like there is in extract?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think so.
We don't have. Yeah, that's something we can follow.
Yeah, let's follow up
with
on
Mike afterwards.
Okay, Mike, please email.
Yeah, you have my email address. That's why I put it up there.
From Pat McCormick, is there a command line interface for flow execution and external integration?
So at release, so we already have a command line interface today for working with flows and pushing them to server. At release, we will also have a REST API available that will be similar to the REST APIs you're familiar with for workbooks or data sources. So the answer is yes for CLI and for REST API.
Okay, I have a long question from Jonathan Drummy, so please bear with me. I'm going to read it slowly so we don't miss anything. Thank you, Jonathan. No spite on that one. We've got files stored on Box that we want to use with Prep and Conductor. AFAI key Prep doesn't support Box as a connector yet, so we would use local files and the Box Sync app, except that the Box folder is located in different paths on different machines. What would you recommend doing for this? The only option I can think of at the moment would be to make the Prep user and Tableau server both have the same mapped drive to the Box folder. Is there something else?
So I can take a step at that. So for the server, if you're talking about running this flow in Prep Conductor versus Prep Desktop, which I can let you also address, we support having input files or outputting files to a shared network folder. So if you sync this shared network folder with your Box repository and mark that shared network folder as a safe location in your server, then you can use this as a host for input files or as a location for output files. But I think I saw the yes in your question, and it's something that's definitely on our radar as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question for Pat. Does version history work for flows too?
It does. It does. Just like version history works for workbooks and data sources, it'll work for flows as well. And a big reason for that is we want to make sure that it's safe to be able to allow self-service data prep. And so being able to roll back to previous versions if you overwrite or somebody else were to overwrite your flow. So we want to make sure that that's all there and it's available. And it is.
Okay, fantastic. Are there plans for Prep to write into databases?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, we've actually got a lot of questions about people interested in writing to databases. It's something we're thinking about. I'd love to follow up again afterwards, after this call, and hear a little bit more about your use case.
Yeah, we definitely encourage you again. I know we've plugged this a couple of times, but open the dialogue and talk to our developers. Yeah. Create these conversations of like Tableau. We need to know what our customers need at the end of the day, so we build products that actually serve you. And so create these conversations, open these dialogues, engage with us here on the forums, in email, however works best for you, because we definitely want to hear what you need. So thank you. Yeah. Next question, what type of server admin views will be available? Oops, wait, that just bounced. What type of server admin views will be available for seeing what's going on using Prep?
Sure. Yeah, so there will be server admin views to help you see all of the flows that are running on your server environment. We actually looked at what do our administrators within Tableau do? How do they monitor things like extract refreshes? And we looked at, hey, what would it look like if we do the same thing for prep? So yeah, there'll be views that let you see all of them, that will let you see how long they're running, when they fail and when they succeed, so you can get a quick view of everything that's running.
There's a question from Carol. I don't know if
is it in the Q&A?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, and I think it was asked on the thread as well. The question is, any idea if I would be able to set up refresh schedule in Tableau Online Bridge for prep flows that connect to on-premise servers?
That was one of the
so that's a great question. Not in view 1, but it's something that is very much on our radar, and we're actively working on it. So it won't be available on day 1 when we release, but it's something that's definitely in the works.
And again, that'd be a great, we would love to connect with you to learn more about your specific use case, because we're trying to make sure that those are delightful.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to talk with you a little bit about your specific scenarios.
Okay, next question. Not just prep related, but I'd like to see security integration or security integrated on scheduled subscriptions so users and groups can only see certain ones, please. With a smiley face.
I think that's great feedback. Great feedback.
Another question. I'm not sure how exactly I can get familiar with prep. Can you please guide me? So what resources are available?
There's a ton of resources online. So our free training videos, we have a bunch of them that are all about how to use prep and are getting updated on a regular basis as we release new features. So that's one of the best places to start. I'd also encourage you, there's a lot of people out in the community that have written blog posts. For example, Steve Wexler wrote a great post on how to use prep to clean and prepare survey data. So if you look in the Tableau site, you Google for Tableau Prep and tutorials, you'll find lots of great information out there. Also, if you download Tableau Prep, up in the right-hand corner is also Getting Started video, which will just walk you through the basic concepts.
I hope that helps. Please let us know if you have any feedback on any of that experience as well. If there's things we can do better, if there's things you'd like to see, we definitely want to hear ways to improve. Did you have anything to add?
No, I would just very quickly, for Prep Conductor, we're also working on a bunch of resources that will be available at launch to help you get started as well.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything in plan to alert and notify when workflows fail and or succeed?
Yeah, I think that's, so I'm assuming you're talking about running it in server in Prep Conductor. So I think that's a good question. Today we have alerting mechanism that's built in, integrated with alerting that's available in Tableau Server. So when a flow encounters an error or fails, you will get an alert right in the server experience, and you will also receive an email with the failures, so you can log back into server and fix it. We have also something that I didn't talk about, a feature that suspends a flow after a certain number of consecutive failures, and it sends you a notification saying, hey, we suspended this flow to save resources because it failed 5 times in a row, and that allows you to log back into server and fix that and resume the schedule.
Do you want to show the run history tab as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I'll just add a little bit while Youssef's getting that back up. So one of the things that we found from talking to a lot of customers in particular was, hey, I want to know when a flow failure occurs. So let me know, email me so I can go take action. And then the second question that often comes up that we hear from customers is they would say, but then if I want to find out if there's a systemic problem, I have to dig through my email. So make me not have to dig through my email to find those problems. And so we wanted to make sure that this is something that any user that is using flows has access to. So what Youssef has up here is the run history. So this gives the example, gives you a view of when this flow ran, whether it was successful or not, what errors were associated with it. So it's in email. It's also here in the run history. And then do you want to talk about the alerts?
No, that's pretty much it. So you receive, there is already a built-in alerting mechanism that you get notified with various alerts in server, and we integrated with that. So if a flow fails, you will see something similar to this. You will also receive an email notification that's similar to this alert.
Can you guys all see that up large on your screen? We just want to make sure that we have the display correct. Can somebody let us know? Not sure.
We'll take this as a yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
perfect.
Thanks, Jonathan. We just want to make sure the viewer experience is best. So the next question we have is back here from Mike. Patrick has a compliment. He said, nice job providing existing functionality, API, version history, et cetera, in Prep Conductor. So thank you. We want to know what we're doing right as well. Mike Perillo, can you talk more about the installation and configuration of Prep Conductor? Does the component sit on the primary main node or only, or if you have a cluster, does it run everywhere? Is it background or dependent?
Yeah. So we give you options here. So what we recommend, and we really encourage you to do, is run prep flows on a separate node. That way, it's isolated from anything else that's running. You can choose where you want it to run, but we do recommend basically being able to isolate it on a separate node. It does use backgrounder, so Prep Conductor will have a backgrounder that it uses just for running flows.
Okay, next question from Jonathan. Prep presently prepares row-level data and does not add metadata useful for Tableau desktop / web editing. Example being setting dimensions, measures, continuous, discrete, creating calculated fields for aggregation that must be computed in the views, etc. So with Conductor, it seems like I'm going to need 2 published data sources. 1, the Prep Conductor created data source, and 2, the desktop web editing source that would use the original source and add the necessary metadata. Is that correct? Jonathan, with the heat.
Yeah, Jonathan, that's a great question. That's a great question. So we've seen a lot of people go ahead and build that metadata on top of the existing flows. Yeah, that is a great question. I'll have to think more about that, and I'll follow up with you more on offline. But that's a great point.
Yes, please keep pushing us.
Yeah.
Next question. I love the product, but I'm not able to use it as much because it's permanently running.
You know, it's possible if you use Tableau Prep, some of the earlier versions, we did have some problems where the desktop tool did appear to lock up. And so it would look like there was just, we felt the progress bar running across the whole top. In the last 2 releases, we've made some really big improvements around that. So if that's the problem you're running into, I'd recommend trying the latest 2 versions. If you're still running the problems, again, email us. We'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Good catch. From Pat, are parameters on the roadmap?
Yeah, parameters are something we are definitely thinking about. We've got a lot of questions around parameters. And again, we'd love to talk more about your specific use case around it.
Okay, there's a link in here. Oh yeah, Kira, our Tableau support community manager in Dublin, has been watching, and she shared here that we'll also include, there's a space specifically in the forums for Tableau Prep. So if you haven't found that yet, you can Google search for it. You can also go to the community.tableau.com and search for Prep specifically. We have not built up a space specifically for Prep Conductor yet. We're going to kind of see how things work with the community, if you should be in the Prep space holistically or how we want to approach that. We haven't determined it yet, but we definitely encourage you to go to that space in the forums. Look for other questions that people have had. You might be coming up against something that troubleshooting an issue, and somebody else has already had the same problem. Somebody else has already solved for it. So definitely go check out the forums, learn from your peers, answer some questions from some other people as well. It's a great way to learn not just Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, but also Tableau Prep and now Tableau Prep Conductor. Be a part of the community. So that's my plug for my job. Jonathan gives us a thumbs up from earlier. I was facing an issue where due to null values, I was not able to pivot tables. Can you please throw some light on it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know what that specific issue might be, but I can give a couple of ideas. So we do support pivoting single pivots in Prep, which is sort of columns to rows. Sorry, I have to use my hand gesture. Columns to rows. We also support what we'll call coordinated or multiple pivots. So I can do it at the same time. So I can do 2 groups at the same time. You might have encountered an error if you have to have the same number of columns to do these. So you might have encountered an error saying, hey, you have 15 items in this group and 14 items in this group, and it doesn't let you pivot. If you make sure all, that they match, you can pivot those at the same time. We're also working right now on the ability to pivot this way, so be able to pivot rows to columns. That's not released yet, but coming soon.
Awesome.
Looks like we missed one question a little bit higher up.
Go ahead. What is it?
Can we use prep as an ETL tool?
It's a great question.
I'll let you take that one.
That's a big question. So in terms of can you use it as an ETL tool, so a lot of tools on the market that do ETL work, there's a lot of really good tools that do big workflow, do like coordinations of workflows. They do things like write to database, and they're really aimed at data engineers. Those are great tools. Prep is really focused on a different problem. Prep is really trying to help people connect to data so they can get to analysis really quickly. So it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is, I've got some data, I need to put it together so I can go analyze it, Prep is probably the right solution. If you're trying to build out a data warehouse, then something like an ETL tool is probably going to be the right solution for you. There's a lot of gray zone in the middle, but I encourage you to take a look at like which of those are you really trying to accomplish. And what we find, honestly, is it's usually both. There's a certain amount of, we see customers go out and say, I'm going to use Prep, figure out exactly what data structures I want, and then I'll go work with a team to go build something in the warehouse. Or people will say, great, I've got this great structure in the warehouse, but it's not exactly what I want. I'm going to use Prep to add a few more things to it. So there's a lot more symbiosis, I guess, between both ETL and Prep together.
Great. Thank you for catching that. Another question from the Q&A. What features can be added in Tableau Desktop of Prep? Which features can be added in Tableau Desktop of Prep? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
We can move on from that. If you'd like to follow up via email, please do.
Yeah,
anything that wasn't answered. Is there any way to define output field sequence?
Yeah, so I'm assuming what you mean by field sequences, what's the leftmost field, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. You can just, as you arrange those columns in Prep, it will output them in that order. So for example, if you're outputting to Hyper or you're outputting to CSV, the order that those columns are in that output node is the order they'll be written up to the file.
Okay, is there any way to define, oh wait, I just asked you that one. Can we write output to any database instead output like .hyper or CSV or Excel?
Yeah, so today we only output to Hyper or CSV and Excel. Again, we've had a bunch of questions about being able to write to databases, so we'd love to hear about your specific use case. So if you'd reach out and chat with us, we'd love to hear more.
Okay, next. Facing issues due to null values, we just answered that one. Is there some smart swapping on the output extracts to minimize downtime for consumers? For example, writing to a temp extract and then after successful execution, swapping the temp extract for the production extract. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm almost positive that that we finished writing the file before we swapped them out. That's something we could follow up.
Right, and I think we do what exactly you're suggesting. While the flow is running, we write towards temp data source, and then we swap once the run is complete. So if the run takes 2 hours, that doesn't mean your previous existing data source is down for the entire 2 hours of the flow run.
Okay, will functionality be available in Prep to create hierarchies and organize fields into folders?
Yeah, I think Mike asked this question, and this is really similar to Jonathan Drummy's question about do I need 2 separate data sources? So this is something that we're thinking about how to help with. In terms of, do I do that modeling in Prep? Do I do that modeling in Desktop? Do I do that modeling on the server? And we're trying to figure out where the right place for all of that is. Today, you can't do that in Tableau Prep, but it's something we know is a problem, and we're trying to figure out what the best place to solve that.
Okay. You mentioned Prep Conductor being backgrounder dependent. Is that backgrounder a different named process so that it's distinguishable from extract backgrounders? Does the same guidelines apply to scaling as traditional extracts?
Yeah. So in terms of the guidelines, they're very similar to extracts in terms of sizing. The extracts, or the backgrounders themselves, can run extracts or they can run flows. We will give you the option to just say only run flows or do not run flows. So we give you a few more tools to control the environment, but it's not a separate or distinct type of backgrounder.
Okay.
And it's really, and it's really depending on the type, on the load and the type of usage you have for your server. If you want to avoid the noisy neighbor problem, then you can separate both. If the load is really low for extract refreshes, then you can utilize the same resources for prep.
Exactly.
What's the latest version of prep? Any updates in the pipeline?
Yeah. So actually, let me just share my screen here for a second. Can you see my screen? Yeah. All right. So I'm on the download historical download pages. So I can go to desktop and prep and server and online. So you can see since April we've been releasing on a pretty fast cadence. Pretty much every month so far. And so the latest one was November 7th, and that's 2018.3.2. So that's the latest one that's available. If you open up Tableau Prep, there's a little orange button that shows up in the right-hand corner when a new version is available. And you can just click that to download the new version.
You mind actually just clicking into that link? I think the follow-up question was, what else was included in this release? You can take a look at all the sort of resolved issues for this download.
Yeah.
And then again, plug for the beta. If you'd like to be involved in any of the betas, how do you get to the pre-release site?
Oh yeah, if you
have it.
Get data.
Yeah.
Tableau.com get data. Or
that's you can sign up for it.
Yeah.
That's where you can access it, but you will eventually land here on pre-release.tableau.com.
Yeah.
So this is a complementary community to a lot of the things that we do. All of our pre-release versions of our software are actually here. So all of the beta and alpha versions. If you want to be involved in any of the conversations around what's coming, I think there's projects, there's like tasks associated with things in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely check this out if you have not been a part of the pre-release community yet. It's amazing. It really helps shape the future of our products.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you come in here and click on this beta, you can see all the new things that are out. Tableau Prep Conductor is a specific item right here. If I go click on Prep Conductor, I can see a bunch of the new things that are available, what features are there. It gives an overview of the capabilities. We have documentation, and then we also have surveys. So you can download and try the capabilities yourself and send us feedback, or you can also go through sort of structured tutorials where we're looking for specific feedback and send us feedback that way.
And as an incentive, right from within pre-release.tableau.com, there is a link to our documentation that will go live when we ship. So you get a early access to this documentation that has a very detailed step-by-step directions on how to use Prep Conductor.
Yeah. And when you submit a survey, you're really sending the feedback to this group. So don't be surprised if you send feedback and we respond directly back.
Yeah, I'll likely reach out back.
Yeah.
Okay, Robbie had asked, is there consideration to include text input connections in Tableau Prep so to make append-like joins easier?
So you can connect to text files today. You can do wildcard unions on text files today. Robbie, can you add a little bit more in the channel about what you mean by append-like, and we can follow up after that.
He said mainly in on-the-fly text input.
I see. So if you have something like a text file or Excel file open, and you're adding new information into that, you can actually hit refresh, and we'll grab the latest data that you've saved in that file. So if you're trying to do something back and forth, you're trying to do a join, and you're trying to make that join better, and you want to do that by using the Excel file or a text file, you can hit refresh and grab the latest data.
Cool. I hope that answers your question. Does recommendations work on flows?
Let's see. So we do have some new smart capabilities available in Prep. In terms of the data tab, for example, there are recommended joins, things like that in Tableau Desktop. That's not in Prep, but what we do have in Prep are some suggestions around things you can do to clean up your data faster. So if we see things like there's extra spaces around some of your data, we'll sample, find it, and recommend that you trim. If it looks like something is an email address, for example, we'll recommend, hey, why don't you say this is an email address? And we'll point out which values need to be cleaned up because they don't look like email addresses. So I think it was our last release, suggestions came out. And the one before that is something called data roles, where you can actually assign and say, hey, this isn't just a string, it's an email. So that's some of the new smart features that are available.
Okay, next one from Jack Baker. Since I'm unable to create LOD calculated fields in Tableau Prep while creating Flow, I need to duplicate calculations in 2 workbooks, which are sharing common flow. With desktop extract, changes to data sources would have helped without the need to republish workbooks.
Yeah, so it's a great point, Jack. So while you can't directly create a level of detail calculation, just writing a Tableau calc itself, you can go through the process of creating the equivalent through Tableau Prep. There's some great blog posts. If you search for prep and level of detail or prep and LOD, there are some tutorials about how to do that same action right in prep.
Okay, sorry for the comparison, but one of data visualization's tool show how much my data is correct, i.e. if it contains null or blank values, etc. Can you please include in prep by small visualization?
Yeah, it's a great, great point. So in prep, one of the things that we do is we do show you the distribution. So if you want to see null values, we show you distribution, and nulls are always at the top. So you can always see how many null values you have. Usually the second thing underneath that is blank values. So it's not null, but there's just no specific value there. It's just sort of like 2 quotation marks with nothing in between. And so you can see those right off the bat. In terms of being able to spot values that aren't quite right, that's where data roles comes in. So you can apply something like an email address, you can say this is a city or state, and we'll give you some feedback in terms of the quality of that data and let you clean it up.
Okay, can you certify flows?
Oh, that's a good question. You can't certify flows today. You can still certify the output of a flow on server, but not flows yet. It's a great question.
Will Tableau server and Conductor always be separate? When installing / upgrading, will the products upgrade together?
Yeah, they'll always upgrade together. So Tableau Prep Conductor is just part of Tableau server. So when you upgrade, let's say you install beta 1 of 2019.1, and then you install beta 2, you're upgrading both Tableau server and the Conductor components.
And if you download the beta, it's a single installation that you install for both.
Yeah. Okay, do desktop and prep should be on the same version. I'm using desktop 2018.3.2.
The desktop, Tableau desktop and Tableau Prep, do they need to be the same?
Oh, no, sorry, I thought that was Tableau Prep desktop. Yep. No, they don't. The extracts that are created, anything in 10.0 or later, Tableau Prep can create extracts versions 10.0 or later. So if you have Tableau Desktop 10.0 or later, it's compatible.
Okay, great. Last question we see so far, to bring awareness to content available in the server environment, it would be nice to evaluate data sources and fields within the flows to see if anything already exists to reduce proliferation. Is that something being looked at?
I think this is a great point and a great suggestion. It's something that we've heard before and something that we're definitely thinking about. Yeah. But yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you.
Okay, a couple more questions. Can you please share the resources for Prep Beginner, any links or blogs? So yes, we're happy to do that. Again, if you want to go to the Tableau community, you can find countless resources there. On the forum post that advertised this session, we're actually going to post the recording from today. Any common questions that were coming up, anything that wasn't answered, we can post on there. I'll also include a bunch of helpful links within that post. So if you go into the forums and you search for Dev Office Hours Tableau Prep Conductor, you'll find it. Even if you Google search it, it'll probably bring up the proper link. Go there, look for all that. We'll kind of collect everything in one place so you're not searching all over for all those resources. Hopefully that'll make it easier for everybody. Thank you for getting started too. We're really excited to have new people in Tableau Prep, learning the software, giving us feedback. So welcome to the community. Can we get multiple output in one flow? And if I have any query on prep, to whom I need to contact?
So you do get today, you can create multiple outputs in one flow. And with Prep Conductor, you get to decide which of these outputs you want to schedule according to what schedule. So you can have multiple schedules for multiple outputs. That's for the output question. The other question, yeah, feel free to reach out to us on the community, like Amanda mentioned. We're monitoring those. If you want to reach out directly, we're happy to answer any questions as well.
The response is great answers. They're happy. So we're happy you're happy. Will there be any certifications for prep in the future? Certification team, where are they at?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know the team has been working on training material.
Yeah, I don't know specifically, but I believe that's something that we're definitely considering. Yeah.
If you have any feedback, if you've taken any other Tableau certification exams, let us know. We're not privy to those conversations yet, but they might be happening. We just don't know about it. Any more questions? We kind of got through the end of the queue. Thank you guys for everything. I mean, that was really helpful. We're going to save all of this for our resources, but also thank you for being a part of the conversation, for giving us feedback. Download the latest beta, please.
Yes, try it out. Send us feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't see anything else coming in, so I think we're gonna close up. That was about 45 minutes on Tableau Prep and Tableau Prep Conductor. So thank you guys for being a part of Dev Office Hours. Thank you to everyone who watched live and tuned in later. Yep, got one more question. Will there be any certifications for prep in the future? Oh, wait, can another session like this be set up in the future? This was amazing.
Good.
I would love to. I would love to engage with you. So if you think this was helpful, we're definitely happy to do more of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Robbie says this was awesome. Thanks all. So yeah, thank you guys. We're happy to do these anytime. Anytime they're available, we're available. We'll let you guys know, get it going on a regular cadence. Jonathan says thanks. So yeah, thank you guys. We're all happy. I think we're gonna end here on a really high note. Looking forward to chatting with everybody soon, and don't be strangers, reach out with anything. So thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.